Throughout history, many societies have feared that certain individuals possess the power to cause supernatural harm or misfortune. This fear stems from humanity's tendency to attribute occurrences of remarkable good or bad luck to some forms of agency, be it human or superhuman. Historians view the concept of witchcraft as one way people have tried to make sense of unexpected misfortunes. What do we know about witchcraft? The term is always shrouded in mystery. But which is real? And if so, were they as powerful as depicted in movies? Were there any good witches? Or they all truly evil? What is witchcraft? Oxford Dictionary describes it as the use of magic powers, especially evil ones. Britannica defines it as harm brought upon others through the use of supernatural or occult powers. At its core, witchcraft involves the use of magical power, traditionally aimed at causing harm or misfortune to others. The nature of this harm varies from making a person ill or killing them to inducing crop failure, poor weather, infertility, or the death of livestock. Not all cultures have shared the same level of fear toward witchcraft, as some had alternative explanations for unusual events. For example, the Gaels of Ireland and the Scottish Highlands strongly believed in fairy folk who were thought to cause supernatural harm. As a result, witch hunting in these regions were far less common than in the other parts of the British Isles. So, how does one practice witchcraft? Witchcraft is often associated with casting curses, spells, or rituals meant to bring harm to a specific person. These curses might involve inscribing magical symbols like runes or sigils onto objects to give them power, or crafting a wax or clay figure known as a puppet to represent the target. Some curses also use potions made from herbs, animal parts, or other ingredients. In many traditions, witches are believed to use personal items from the target, such as hair, nail clippings, clothing, or even bodily waste, to work their magic. In some cultures, there are even accusations that witches use human body parts in their rituals, with fears that they may harm children to obtain these materials. That said, not all curses rely on rituals. In places like West and Central Africa and Melanesia, many believe witches can cause harm simply through their thoughts or desires. Similarly, in North Africa and Middle East, there's the widespread idea of the evil eye, the belief that a single envious or malicious glance can bring misfortune to another. So, which is real? It depends on what we mean by real. If we think about witches as powerful beings flying on broomsticks, casting powerful spells, then no, there's really no real evidence to support that. But throughout history, were there any people accused of practicing witchcraft? Then yes, absolutely. Throughout history, many people, mostly women, were accused of witchcraft and persecuted, often based on superstition, religious belief, or social fears. The most famous examples are the Salem witch trials in colonial America and the European witch hunts, where thousands were executed under suspicion of being witches. Some historical witches were actually herbalists, midwives, and healers whose knowledge of plants and medicine were misunderstood and feared. Others were simply victims of personal vendettas, misogyny, or paranoia. So while witches, as in magical beings, aren't real, at least as far as we know, the witch trials and the fear of witches were very real. By the late 17th and early 18th centuries, skepticism about witch trials grew. Enlightenment thinking, better legal system, and changing religious view helped end the hunts. Today, the trials are seen as tragic examples of mass hysteria, injustice, and the dangers of fear-driven societies. In modern times, some individuals practicing certain forms of contemporary paganism identify as witches and use the term witchcraft to describe their spiritual practices. As a result, the term witchcraft no longer universally carries a negative connotation.